Pleased to say that I'm back with the terrible voiceovers. Unfortunately, my commentary hasn't improved at all, but hopefully the footage is somewhat elevated with the all-new front-facing camera. So this is a super tough, little-known climb in Italy. It starts in the commune of Airole in the province of Imperia, not far from the border with France. It's a dead-end road and it's ridden so rarely that it's barely visible on heat maps. I consider myself pretty well versed in the art of scoping out weird climbs, but I'd never have ridden this one if it weren't for a recommendation on Strava. So thanks very much, Forrest, because it turned out to be pretty spectacular. I didn't really know what I was in for due to the lack of information about it, just that it had a really steep section, but it turned out to be even better and even harder than I'd hoped for. So we're already pushing against a pretty severe gradient here, but the climb hasn't actually officially started yet. There's a few different ways to approach it from the village, so this is just a nice little warm-up. The stats for the climb ahead, it's 3.6 kilometers at 12.5% average for an elevation gain of about 457 meters or 1,500 feet. Which sounds hard enough, but as is often the case, that doesn't tell the full story. Within that, there's a section of around 1.3 kilometers at 15%, and about half a kilometre at over 18%. You might be admiring the nice road surface here, but that's not going to last too long either. For some reason, I thought the steepest section was at the very beginning, but I knew that the 15% section would take well over 5 minutes, so I was a bit concerned when the gradients dropped back down into the single digits. The climb as a whole was far pitchier than I expected. When the average is over 12% for 4 kilometers, and you're on a flat section, you know it's going to come back to bite you when it kicks back up again. But I absolutely love this kind of climb. You can't really get into rhythm, but you basically only have one option on the tough bits, which is to do everything you can to keep moving, and then try to recover a little on the flat sections before you're right back into the red. It's great. My heart rate monitor was being a bit laggy. Pretty sure I was well into the 180s from the very start. Probably beforehand, just in anticipation. I'm also convinced that my power meter has been under-reading recently. Very unlikely, but we all like to tell ourselves these things. Nice little bench there, just don't lean too far back or you might get electrocuted. Even though it's obviously drastically different in many ways, this climb reminded me somewhat of the Airole in North Wales, one of the hardest climbs in the UK. Although I've only ridden both climbs once, they're both very memorable due to their difficulty. They're both somewhat relentless, and just when you think you're about to get some respite, it kicks back up again. So this is all sort of still the prologue to the main wall, which comes about a kilometre in. I probably overcooked it a bit at the start. I kind of went around that first corner in complete panic mode, as you could tell. But you kind of just have to accept that either way you'll have to go pretty deep early on due to the severe gradients. enjoy this next section in its full glory. This is probably the toughest stretch, and there's also a succession of these lovely sharp speed bumps to contend with, which nearly sent me toppling over. You'll be able to see my shadow having some difficulty at 45 RPM. see that it's quite difficult to apply continuous power on these classic portions anyway, with all the bumps and debris in the road. At least it gives you an excuse to take it easy and catch your breath a bit. This road leads to an adventure sports park. I'm not sure if it actually exists or whether the ploy is that you'll burn up all your adrenaline driving up here, especially if you have to dodge weird cyclists. There's some really stunning views of the village and valley below on the right here. It was actually super cold in the valley, but this entire climb was under the sun, which was pretty glorious. It probably gets pretty sweltering in the middle of summer. There's a few vineyards scattered around as well. The real hard bulk of the climbing's done, and it's a nice, comparatively gentle 10% to the top. The ending actually snuck up on me here. It's not a super defined summit as the road just turns to gravel, although I was pretty knackered, so it's not like I could have deployed a massive sprint anyway. So that took just under 19 minutes, and I was quite happy to have pipped Pikachu on his own one ride. But it seriously was one of the most enjoyable climbs I've ever done due to its somewhat extreme difficulty. So yeah, thanks for watching. I really recommend this awesome bit of road.